Well, good evening. Let me actually start by asking, who has been to Estonia out of you? Very cool, quite a few hands, all right. To everybody else, I have news for you. You actually are in Estonia. This is Estonian territory right here, so welcome. Welcome to Estonia, all right. First of all, thanks for coming. It's very intriguing for us to be here and talk on this great topic. I will briefly divert my speech in a way. So the whole event is about big data and so forth. I'll put this gentleman right back. But I want to really actually start briefly using another term, and I'll explain why. In Estonia, we have a joke. We don't have big data in Estonia. There's not enough for us, of us, to really have big data, right? In a country of 1.3 million people, there's always so much data to go around. But I actually agree with the former speaker saying that it's not about the size of it. It's actually about exactly using different types, different structures, and so forth. So, but let's use the word data. And I will try to very briefly sum together actually 15 years of experience of building a digital government in Estonia and look at it from a data perspective. Our ambassador actually did a pretty good job on actually giving you already hints of what I will talk about. So, for example, she said taxes. I'll talk about taxes. The bottom line is, in Estonia, we've been building a digital government for a few reasons. One of them being that this is the way we see that we, as a government, can provide a much better service for our people, our residents, our companies. And we do keep building more because we see really that digital services allow them to lead a much more efficient and easy life. For example, yes, you see the guys in the sauna. We like to go to sauna a lot. It's a cold country. But even if you're there, you can get your taxes done, right? Even if you're there, you can start a company and it will be up and running in the next few hours because we do use data a lot to make the services easy to use and comfortable and fast. With taxes, the trick is very simple. We actually don't ask you to submit your tax declarations as physical persons. We rather ask you to review them. So basically, we have the data in our hands through the year anyway, because as people are employed in companies, well, the companies pay the tax every month. So we know how much you made, how much tax you paid, and so forth. We don't ask you again. We just basically say, look, if it's tax day, you log in, you look, okay, these are my records, next, 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 submit. Most people are done in 5 minutes, if they're slow, right? Most people actually, it's like 2 minute affair. They just go through, they're done, it's tax is done. No accountants, no tax advisors, no fees involved, right? Now the trick is that actually it could be even simpler, and I'll explain about that. I mean, actually it could be automated. So the next year or two, we would like to make it this way, that if it's tax day, we just send you a text and say, hey, based on our records, that's the outcome. If you're unhappy, then you go online and you basically review and you think, if you want to check it out. But actually, why ask in the first place? But so far we do. Oh, the other thing, establishing a company. Our record is actually 18 minutes. So this 18 minutes was from the point when the person logged in our business portal online, and up to the point when the company was legally established. In 18 minutes, they were in business. They were able to bill other companies, to contracts, all the stuff. How is it possible to contract it, all that together? Is because, again, we reuse data. All the checks that all different public authorities have to do, for example, can the particular person establish a company in the first place, right? Do they have the, are they legally responsible? Or do they have any business? Yeah, okay, can they actually exactly be in business? Do they have any violations in the past, for example? All this is done by data automatically, very, very fast. And the outcome is, you're in business. Exactly, the service is very fast and convenient for you. And so, people like this a lot because exactly makes their life better every day. But in government, we like it too because we get the other part of it. So data and using data and offering digital services allows us to be very efficient in our operations. This has been very much the driving force of digital government in Estonia, efficiency. We are a very small country. We don't have much natural resources besides wood and nice, forest, besides forest and nice sort of nature, right? And we don't want to tax up people high enough. But we want to be a country for social welfare, defense, the whole spiel, right? So our point is that we have to be very efficient with the resources we have to use as a government. And again, digital has been a way for that. The examples I have here actually very much are the ones that you brought out as examples in your sort of presentation. But for example, let's take crime prevention or public safety. We did, close to 10 years ago, something very simple. We brought internet access to all the police cars. So basically, patrols on duty could have access to in real-time access to databases. They could, for example, run a number plate, check if there should be any suspicion, for example, to stop the car. For example, the particular driver or the user of the car might have a past of drunk driving. So again, that's worth it to check them up again. Once we did this, again, not even much analytics, but really access to the data, right? We immediately, in just a few months, had a 50% increase in stolen cars being found, for example. So simple access to data, immediately we had basically safer streets as an outcome. Or the other example, this is very small, but basically resource planning. Emergency management. So these days, if there's a fire ongoing in Tallinn, our capital city, immediately analytics is run and sort of even visualized to see what kind of resources deploy. Where is the nearest sort of fire engine, for example? How to get there the fastest with an ambulance. Again, we were able to provide with a bit of analytics a much more simpler service. Instead of somebody at the end of the phone trying to do that all by heart, in the head, the machines tell us what is the best way to really effectively react. So, how to pull it off? So, I want to just basically emphasize, again, perhaps the things that my ambassador mentioned. And this is really about what is the role of government as we see it in Estonia. Our key role, of course, we have to offer the services, we have to develop them. But we see that we are in the environment business, in an infrastructure business. We are there to provide the right sort of legal and technical environment for all different agencies to offer their services on, but also for the wider society. And I'll explain what I mean. Complicated picture, but in a nutshell, the fact that we are able to, the reason why we're able to reuse data, for example, in tax declarations, is that we have a government-wide framework, a platform for that, which is called X-Road. Basically, all government systems, all government databases have to adhere to common protocol for data exchange, of secure data exchange. There's no single big database where we pull the data. Rather, we use information from an original source. This is basically our government in action every day. All sort of different data flowing back and forth as services are being provided, as analytics is being done. But the other reasons besides the technical platform is that there's actually a legal framework behind. In Estonia, we have a simple rule, which is called, some of you might know this, once only. In Estonia, basically the government is not supposed to ask you again if they already have some data on you. That we shouldn't, we are not even, basically we're not allowed to. If you told us something, we should reuse it from an initial source like that based on X-Road, and as a result, the service is simpler for you. That was the example of the tax declaration. We have your tax records, we shouldn't ask you again. We should rather provide you a faster service with that knowledge that we have, reusing the data essentially. But the other part, of course, what it comes down to is that there has to be the right trust and security environment. So, the point is that even if we are able to connect all different parts of government together technologically and legally, then the same sort of law also sets us limits. So basically, the framework is such that all the connections can happen based on a need-to-know basis, or allowed to know. If I, as a person, want my data to be shared, for example, also with a third party outside the government, I can allow that effectively. For example, if I want a bank to have an access to some sort of my public records. But fundamentally, it boils down to one sort of particular legal aspect which we hold very dear, which is that people and companies own the data, not the government. And so from these kind of frameworks, the rest can also follow into technology. And I'll give you an example. In Estonia, we do have a nationwide health record. So whenever I go to see a doctor, he or she has access to my medical history. So basically, the idea is that, again, I should save time as a person, as a patient. They don't have to redo all the analysis necessarily. But at the same time, we also hope to save some money on the sort of health system side. Now, in order not this kind of health record and the sensitive data to be abused, then we built in, from the principle that people own the data, a small technological trick. In my online health portal, I can block access to my health record, to the doctor, or even my wife for that matter. But I control who has access to my data, even if by default it will be shared for public benefit and my own personal service benefit. Similarly, we have control about, let's say, who has been accessing. We have a log function there. So I can see, let's say, which doctor when had looked into my stuff. If they had no reason, I can go to data protection inspection and make a claim. And we have had nurses fined, some policemen laid off, if they looked into stuff they shouldn't have. So basically what I'm trying to say is that there's a lot we can do technologically. There's a lot what we can do for the service, for the benefit of government efficiency and people's efficiency with data if the right frameworks are in place. And so basically exactly privacy and security needs, as we see, at least in Estonia, don't have to be an obstacle. They can actually enable us to reuse data and do more with the data for the benefit of people. And on that note, I just have to say this. So a lot it also comes from that, the trust comes from that we have a secure means of authentication for both the people's side. If they log in, us as government, we know that it's really them logging in, right? So there's an ID card, basically personalausweis, or equivalent mobile SIM card, we call it mobile ID. If I use that, if I log into my, for example, health portal, again, the government has the best assurance possible, it's really me there. And the other way around. Also, all the public officials are authenticated. So we always know in the logbook who was really looking at my stuff, because that's the way they have to do it. And it's based on advanced cryptography, based on advanced procedures, there's no way that they can fake that part. So again, nice, secure devices framework is what allows us to make the most of data. Now, I'll briefly say what's next for us, just as a teaser. I think I already hinted a bit with the example of tax, when I said that, look, actually the tax report could be automated. I could just send you a note saying, look, that's your tax outcome. If you're happy, don't do anything. But I mean, I think the principle applies in a wider sense. And by using and reusing the data that we have, and possibly even combining it with additional sources outside of government hands, we can do even a better service, being really proactive and make people's life even more efficient and easy. I mean, I can give an example of babies. When a baby is born in Estonia, actually the government knows almost immediately, because the hospital makes an entry to population registry. Basically, the kid has a number before they have a name, right? And the other thing is that based on that, actually, government almost knows the next sort of few steps that the parents will take. They have to name the child. They most probably will put the kid in a kindergarten queue. They will apply for some benefits, all these things. These are available online. All these sort of services are available online. But at the same time, should we actually ask them to go online and do the stuff anyway? They want to be there with the baby, right? So if we know that the baby was born, the number gets, the population registry entry gets made, we could just actually send an email to the parents and say, thank you for the new citizen. What's the name? So basically turning us around and also reusing sort of different bits and pieces of data we can automate in the back end. Why ask for an application for a benefit? We could just send you basically the money to your bank account, right? And well, we've even joked that we can even offer you suggestions for names if you want, based on a little analytics. But we probably won't go there. But what's the most popular this month for a boy? And so the whole idea is that exactly to make people's life even easier. And it doesn't, of course, just concern us as citizens or sort of regular people in that sense, but it could be also especially for entrepreneurs. We are currently developing a system based on a tax office that if companies just transact electronically, basically they just use an online banking, transfers back and forth, they don't transact with cash, let's put it this way. Even if it's cards, it's okay. Basically, their bank record is the financial bookkeeping. There's nothing more there is to that. So out of that, we could actually, if the company gives access to the tax authority to the bank record, you would not have to submit any more declarations or basically paperwork to the government ever again. We have the access, we can do the tax declarations for you, we can do actually annual reports for you, or the custom stuff, whatever. You would benefit from, again, much easier service. You don't need an accountant or an accounting team. As an SME, as a micro company, which many Estonian companies are, they love it, the idea, because again, it actually saves them immediate money, gives them efficiency. And it doesn't have to stop at the government side. I mean, if we have this sort of platform in place, actually it could go even further. We could have real-time transactions, real-time money flowing back and forth between the companies, also B2B, right? And for that radical efficiency, companies, again, the whole economy actually saves much more. It's able to spend money and time in places where it leads to growth, not just accounting costs. And so basically, we see that digital could be very much a tool for growth in a wide sense by using data and allowing different data bits to be connected together like that between companies. And one more thing about the future, I won't stop long here, but I just also want to say that so far, all digital governments, all digital services usually have stopped at the borders. In Estonia, the same way. There's 80 kilometers between Finland and Estonia, between our capitals. But still, if companies go from one market to another, that's basically a lot of papers they have to carry around. Stuff that they don't do at home, by the way. So if they go to Finland, they just basically have to prove, for example, that they have the right to represent a particular company from Estonia. Then the Finnish government takes the knowledge, types some stuff, types this knowledge into the computers, and again, company's good to go. But why? There are two digital governments, and we have people traveling with papers between them. If we connect the governments, well, again, perhaps people don't have to travel at all. We just basically, if Estonian company wants to do business in Finland, they just go to the Finnish authority, who then makes a data request to Estonian government, and everything's done. Again, by simple use of data across the borders between administrations, the single market actually works, right? Everybody's better off. So there's a lot we want to do, and we already started working with our neighbors, really connecting sort of the government databases and infrastructures like X-Road together. And it doesn't have to be just with Finland. We are happy to work on European level as well, which we actually do with Commission partnership. I will end by making just very few statements about what I was asked to make. So what would that all mean from point of view of power relations, if I can make this sort of leap? Well, to my mind at least, what it effectively means is that, first of all, in some ways, governments are more powerful. We are able to much better perform, right? At least for the more value for the same money, at least. But at the same time, what it fundamentally means is that still people, I don't want to say the user, but people whom we are doing the services for, they really become the centerpiece, because it's really after them by which we design and target the services based on the data that we use. So obviously, actually, they start to, and their sort of needs start to run the game for us, not just some abstracts of thinking, okay, what could the people need? Well, based on data we know, that sort of needs become more powerful. But the other thing, what definitely happens, is that engineers become powerful. And this has been very much the backstory of Estonian actually digital development, is that our government, our political leaders have said, we trust our engineers. Even if some people politically have been afraid that there could be cyber risks, there could be privacy risks, but let's really talk to them. Let's really talk to the best sort of minds out there in Estonia or abroad. Let's figure this out. And so this engineering knowledge is where X-Road came from. This engineering knowledge is where sort of our digital identity came from, which many people at the time said, look, no, this cannot be done. And this engineering knowledge doesn't have to stop in the government. For example, in Estonia, we're lucky to have a very active startup scene, which is called Estonian Mafia. Why not work with the best of them there? Also, they become more powerful as the influencers of where does the government go, and more actually our services, the standard of our services, the quality of our services is compared to the best ones in the private sector. So again, that's influence. And my last slide says that if people become the center point, it doesn't just have to mean the people physically in your country or the usual sort of range of suspects. In Estonia, we started a new program called e-Residency. It's been 1.5 years running, so we issued our digital identity to anyone in the world, really, who wants to use our nice, easy digital services. So the more and more we see other countries now wanting to join the wagon. So if that happens, it's not just your citizens who become powerful, actually your user base, wherever they are in the world. So taking this into political game and considerations is what I think what we'll be evolvingly seeing in different countries. So the population, though the populace, if you wish, becomes much more virtual in actual sense of the world. I will stop here. I would say that if you want to learn more, you're always welcome to visit us virtually or physically, and we welcome any questions and debate. Thank you.